I think I'm live. I'm hoping I'm live. If you've just joined the live stream, please do say hello, tap the screen, show us a bit of love, and let us know if you're watching. And please do invite followers. I can't see you on my other device, but I'm going to go ahead and hope that I will be able to see the stream. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to double check on my page that I can see it. Here we go. Okay. Please bear with me, people. As you're coming into the stream, please do say hello, tap the screen, let us know where you're watching from, how your day is going today. That would be amazing. I can see that I'm live. Thank you so much for coming in. I'm going to introduce the show. Okay, so hello, thank you so much for coming in. If you're watching for the first time, my name is Daniela Blechner. I'm an author, book journey mentor, founder of a company called Conscious Dreams Publishing. We work with authors from all over the world to help them to get their powerful messages and stories out there on a global scale. Now, this show is called Book Journey Mentor Uncut. But before I introduce the show, what I'd like to do, I can't see and I can't respond to comments just yet. But if you do want to comment, please do, and I will catch up with them in a bit. What I'd like to do is just to acknowledge some of what's been going on in the news at the moment. I would be wrong to say that it hasn't affected myself, and I'm sure it's affected many people who've been watching. As we know, it's not the first time. Police brutality has always existed, always existed. It's just that things are now being recorded more. I watched the video of George Floyd yesterday morning it was, who was literally murdered in broad daylight by a police officer. It was very distressing and disturbing to watch. He is not the first. He won't be the last, sadly. And I just want to just have a minute just to really reflect and just honour him today. Not just him, but we're talking about Sandra Bland, we're talking about Tatiana, we're talking about Brianna. I'm sorry, I can't remember all the surnames. We're talking about Philando Castro. We're talking about Alton Sterling. I'm praying that we get to a stage where we no longer see these lives as just hashtags, and we're no longer having to deal with people saying all lives matter. Of course, all lives matter. We know all lives matter, but the house that is burning down right now, the houses of the Black community, and we have to acknowledge it. We have to acknowledge institutionalized racism within the police force. Not every single police officer, of course not, but we have to acknowledge what is going on. So I just would like to give a minute's silence just to honor those people today. Hello. Okay, I'm back. I just felt it was really important to do that. I don't even have the words. I don't even have the articulation to be able to eloquently say what I'm saying. I've posted what I need to post. I just wanted to honor that in the first minute of this broadcast to make it right. Well, it's not going to make it right, but I just wanted to honor these people before us. So who am I? My name is Hanan Daniela Blechner, author, book journey mentor, founder of a company called Conscious Dreams Publishing, and you are watching Book Journey Mentor Uncut. What is Book Journey Mentor Uncut all about? It's a show that offers a platform for unseen, unheard, established, new authors to really share their book journey with you, so you can get a real insight into the behind the scenes of the author and their book. It's also a platform where I interview experts within the industry. So publishing a book is not just about writing and printing or publishing and getting it out there. There's so many aspects that our guest knows that goes behind it: the editing, the typesetting, the illustrators, the promotion, people who are into PR, book marketers. So all of these people I'm interviewing on this show. So if you are one of those people who work within publishing, whether it's traditional publishing or self-publishing, or within the technical aspects of publishing, please do get in contact with me. Today, I'm interviewing the awesome and amazing Deanne Heron. She is a 3-time author. She already has 2 books, The Partner's Love, Money Stories, as well as her poetry book, Contemplation. She is a qualified counsellor and foster carer and all-round literary genius. So are we ready to welcome our guest onto the show? Please show her some love, tap the screen, say hello. I'm going to be bringing her on right now. And this is a very interactive show. So if you have any questions for our guest, please do feel free to ask. Here she is. Hello, Dion. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. Good evening, Danni, and good evening, everyone who's watching.
Hello, so lovely to have you as a guest today. We are yet to meet, but I feel like we've already met through our conversations and obviously working together. So let's speak about you. Tell us a little bit about where you were born and your journey coming to the UK.
Okay, right. I could write a book just about that on its own. Yet, excuse me, I've got a bit of a froggy throat, so excuse me. I was born in Jamaica, in the capital, Kingston, which is where my mum was living at the time.
Oh, thanks.
But sorry?
My mum's from Kingston as well.
Okay, well, I was only born in Kingston. My family are actually from Portland, which is in the countryside.
Okay.
So I was left with my grandma at 3 years old in Portland, and I lived in Portland, went to private school initially, which is what the church school was called, not necessarily private. And then I went to what we call big school, which was primary school, until I was 9. And I came to England to join my mom, my stepdad, and my 3 new brothers and sister. And when I was 9 years old, and it was such a shock leaving my beautiful, hot country, you know, coming here. I'd seen snow and ice on films, but I'd never seen it for real. So I saw snow for the first time, ice on the pavement for the first time.
Wow.
And it was a very interesting experience, which I described in one of my stories as journeying from the earth to the moon, and I was still breathing. So that was it, basically.
I love that title, Journey from the Earth to the Moon. Amazing. Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. And that leads us on nicely to your first book. So we'll speak about this epic sci-fi novel that you've written. But let's speak about the book, because this isn't your first book, is it? Have you always loved writing? Because when we first got this submission,
storytelling. I think storytelling, because I remember again being in Jamaica. Obviously, we didn't have television. We had the radio, and I remember in the evenings we would sit on my aunt's veranda and listen to Miss Louise Bennett, who's a storyteller, poet. Or, you know, she is one of my greatest inspirations, and we would listen to stories from Miss Lou. And I think that maybe got me interested in storytelling. And my cousins also used to read stories to us in the evenings. And when I came to England, I was often left to take care of my brothers and my sister. And I would make up stories and tell them, because they loved my Jamaican accent. I had a very strong Jamaican accent when I first came here, which I had to lose overnight because I was teased constantly at school.
Oh, no.
Yes, it was horrendous. I went through a horrible primary school, you know, and I've said before, if it wasn't for my primary school teacher, Mr. Lawrence, who basically took me, you know, in his care, and he looked after me and paired me up with another young lady who, you know, wasn't very popular. And that sort of gave me the strength. But it wasn't very nice. But I think that's how, and he used to read us poetry. at the end of the day, he'd read poetry to us, and often he realised that I really liked, and it was like Shakespeare. He'd read us Shakespeare and real old. I can't even think of any right now. And then he used to give me the books. They called me Diana, even though I said to them again and again, my name is
Oh God. Did you correct
Diana, I noticed
him?
when I was reading that poem, you really liked that, didn't you? And I said, yes, sir. I said, right, take this book home and read it and bring it back when you're finished. And again, that's how I started reading poetry, then reading stories, reading sci-fi, but not writing sci-fi, just reading.
So sci-fi is something that you've always been into, because ladies and gents, I have to show you this novel she's written. We are going to talk about it, but there's more we'll talk about first. The Mandari Chronicles. Look at this amazing cover. This will, if you need a book to read during lockdown, look how beautiful it is. Absolutely stunning. So, I mean, did you ever imagine yourself, being that young in primary school and loving poetry and reading? Did you ever imagine yourself being an author? Is that something that you've always wanted to do, or was
no, it was just something. It was just something at the back of my mind because I was so busy getting on with life, studying, getting a good job. Yeah, I had a daughter, and unfortunately, my daughter's dad and I separated when she was just a baby. So I was a single parent. So
Right.
It was really just living. Writing was not really on the agenda. I would read, but I wasn't. I didn't start writing initially. I think it was years later I started writing poetry, and then I remember thinking one day, with all the memories I had as a little girl when I came, we used to get together and have dinner, and different family members would bring things. One would bring the fish, one would bring the chicken. And I'm thinking, my daughter will never get to see those things. So then I decided I wanted to capture those memories. And then I started writing short humorous stories. There's the first one, Partner Money Stories, because the partner was the savings club that we had originally, because most people, when they came in the 50s, they didn't have bank accounts. So a group of people would get together, like I forget what it's called now. They get together and put money in a pot, and then everybody would take it in turn to get that money. And that money was enabled people to buy houses, land back home, but lots of things. So it's a credit union. That's what it is.
Yes.
So these stories are my ways of capturing all those lovely memories. And I just thought, well, I love Jamaican patois and I don't want it to die out. So I started listening to Miss Lou again. And every time I've got cousins who are Rastas. So every time I went to their house, I would listen to them speaking. And that was how I learned to speak patois again. So they're written in English, but with Jamaican patois dialogue. And I've had 2 volumes of short stories published, but I've also had 2 volumes of poetry published called Contemplation, and there's one. That's volume 1.
Lovely.
And then volume 2.
Amazing.
So I call that my therapy now. My poetry is my therapy, because that is how I process whatever's going on in my life. That's how I process. I write a poem. And
I get
that's it, really. That's how I started off, wanting to share my life with my children and my grandchildren.
Thank you so much. So we've got Carol on, a fellow Mancunian author. She's published Dolly May and the Enchanted Magical Garden last year with us. In fact, I think it was her book anniversary a few days ago. Hi, Carol. She says, hi, Deanne, looking forward to
Hello, Carol.
V. Robert says, good evening. Hey. I think what would be lovely. What would be lovely is if you could share something then from the Partner Love I don't know why I keep saying love stories, money stories.
Yeah, the love stories. They're family love stories.
Family love story, exactly. So I'm going to come off screen and invite some people because I don't want to keep looking down. And then if you want to share, that would be amazing. Off you go.
So you'd like me to share something from Partner Money? Okay, right. So Danny's gone, and I'm going to share. Let me see. There's a poem at the beginning of Partner Money Stories Volume 1, which summarizes, I think, my childhood and what things were like when what they call the Windrush generation first started coming. And it's quite a long poem, so I'm just going to read half of it. I think the second half. And I think a lot of people, it resonates with a lot of people. Okay, it's called My Good Old Days. But I'm going to start at this bit which says, oh, Christmas. Remember Cherry B, Baby Sham, And the blue spot radiogram, the tasteless turkey washed down with advocaat and spicy curried lamb. Christmas dinner was eaten with the best cutlery and china kept in the glass cabinet. And every year we all met at Alexandra Park Carnival and prayed it wouldn't be wet. The partner money. How many times do you remember hearing that phrase? And how many young people know about partner these days? How that precious money was paid every week, and you'd better not be late, with someone's relative back home waiting to put food on their children's plates. The partner bought land. It paid school fees and built or bought a house. The poor black man was able to buy a ring and make his girlfriend his spouse. Remember when winter was really winter? The fog, snow, and black ice. The fun of coach trips, the men playing cricket, dominoes, and tossing the dice. Then there was church, whether Saturday or Sunday, we didn't have a choice. What we did have then was a conscience, that still but not so small voice of your mother with a shopping trolley, or maybe it was your wife, who with the look, remember that look? The look kept you on the straight and narrow and in fear of your life. The partner was depositing rent for that room you were the wrong colour to get. It saved your hide when you lost the money under the mattress on that surefire bet. The partner. Another part of black culture is dead and buried from a bygone age. It took its final curtain call, bowed to grateful applause, and left centre stage. Okay, so that's a poem from Partner Money Stories, Volume 1, Partner. Yeah, my good old days. And I hope that brought back some lovely memories for everyone.
That was amazing. Thank you so much. Ali Pally says she still does the partner as well. I know that was something that was brought to the UK definitely during the wind rush. I can never say wind rush.
Yeah, the
era.
Wind rush era. Yeah,
it's the D and the R together. There's some words I can't say. So, but yeah, it does still exist today. But it's I don't think it's as prevalent as it was.
It's in a different form, because what I found out is that the partner is now done with a bank account, whereas you used to have a person in the community and she was the partner money or the partner lady. You take the money to her, she would sort it all out. Now you can set up a bank account and the money is just transferred from one bank account to another, and then the lump sum each week or whatever is transferred to each person. So you don't even know each other anymore. It's all done with bank accounts.
Because there was a real community vibe, wasn't there to it? Now everything's digital. So, but I think
we didn't have mobile phones. So the partner person, that was a pivotal person in the community. So if anything happened, if somebody was having a baby, somebody was getting married, somebody was ill, you'd tell the partner lady and she would tell everybody else. So that's how the community kept in touch.
That's brilliant. We need that back. Let's get rid of the phones, people. Well, we won't be able to live stream, so but there's a real like, as much as technology is great and it helps in terms of getting out there globally in terms of what you're doing, there's also something beautiful about that face-to-face contact. And I think definitely lockdown, I hope for a lot of us, has made us appreciate that more, that community spirit, that community vibe that you're talking about. And I think it's really beautifully reflected in your book. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Deanne, I'm sure we'll put the link up to the Partner Money Stories as well as her 2 volumes of poetry contemplation. But let's talk about the Mandari Chronicles now.
Okay.
This is such a read. There's so much depth to this book, and you can read it on so many levels and layers. So tell us, well, first of all, what is it about and what inspired you to write it?
Right. As they say, it's complicated. I never imagined in a million years that I would write a science fiction novel. But about 15 or so years ago, when we had all those films about elves and dwarves and what have you, I don't know, my overactive brain started working and thinking, elves and dwarves, where do people get these things from? And then I started having these weird dreams. And I was taken back in time, and I dreamt that it wasn't just humans that were created on the earth originally. There were three races: dwarves, elves, and humans, and they all had their names. You know, there were the Hausers, the Elims, and the Medians were the humans.
Yeah.
And I was shown how they developed. We didn't have a spoken word, we didn't speak. We were telepaths. And it was only when people started getting jealous of each other and the race wars, as I call it, started, which I wrote about in the book. They realized that if you spoke telepathically, people knew whether you were lying or not. So that's why speech developed. And then there were these people called the Chosen. They lived on the mountain in this special village, and they were taken off the planet at the flood. You know, the Christian flood.
Yeah.
All these things arrived on the planet, and they were shown how to build spaceships. Then these strange creatures appeared on the ships. They were taken to a planet called Mandar. They thought everything on the earth had been destroyed, and they lived on this planet called Mandar. But again, that's complicated because they split and were at war, you know, with somebody else. One of them ended up back on Earth. And it was his journey trying to get to know the Earth people, how they developed differently from his people. And then he meets this strange woman, and they fall madly in love. And he tries to find out who she is and realizes she's an alien as well. So it's a story of how, you know, they ended up back on his planet, and then it just sort of took off. There's different aspects to it. So we start off with the race wars. What happened on Earth? What happened when the races separated and these people were taken to another planet? How they developed compared to how we developed on Earth. And then when this gentleman was rescued and taken back to his planet, we then saw, you know, what happened there. You know, where they become embroiled in like a love triangle. And the story sort of dips into lots of different aspects of life. You know, what real love should be. And there's a naughty, what I call the naughty chapter in the middle, where it explains what real lovemaking should be about. So if you want to learn
Listen, if you're single and you're on lockdown, you just omit that chapter for now.
Yes, don't read that one. don't read that one unless you're married or in a relationship.
Yeah. But it's so like there's three books in one in this one book, so it's separated into three different books. So you look at the first bit, which is like before the flood.
That was the Earth before, yes.
Would you say is there when you're writing it, was there a message? Is there a message in this? Many messages?
There are many messages, because as I wrote, it's like my commentary, because I'm a qualified counsellor and cognitive behavioral therapist, and I deal with a lot of people who have different issues, and I help them to sort those issues out and, you know, get to from A to B. And the book is like a commentary on different aspects of life. Whether it's the way you deal with your teenager, the way you deal with your younger children, the way you deal with your elders. And the main characters are Black. I mean, the woman, as I said, they're all mixed, because they're all, the main character, Camille is half elf and half human. So that's, you can't get more mixed than that. So there are lots of, and I'm trying to say, you know, we're world citizens. We shouldn't be fighting each other because I'm a different color to you, or I might look different. I'm saying, you know, these people, they're elves, they're dwarves, they're humans, yet they live in harmony. And this is what I'm trying to say, that, you know, we should love difference, not see it as a threat. And I think that's the main theme in the book. You know, difference is not a negative, it's a positive.
And that came across really clearly. I think when you were writing that, it's not explicit and it's not obvious, it's not spelling out the message, but through the reading and through really getting into the story, we see that it transcends through the characters. Now, as I said, one of my favorite character is Camille. I think I'm slightly in love with him.
I've been in love with him from day one, so it's all right.
Okay, that's fine. So Camille lands in Lexis. So we'll see Lexis here. She is the main character. So there you go. I can't work it. There you go. It's the other round. She's the main character. This is Camille here in the front, isn't he? He lands in her back garden. Now, wouldn't you love that? Half elf, half
elf, half human.
Half
you can
human.
see his pointed ears. Yes.
Yeah, there
And
you go.
he gets in the middle of the night, he lands in her back garden in the snow, half, almost at death's door. And she brings him into her house against her better judgment. But something was just telling her, no, there's more to this. You need to bring this man in and save him. And
Yeah.
she did. Unfortunately, because she did, that opened up so many doors. All her life, she'd been told, oh, you're different, you're this, you're
Mm,
that. Because she was a telepath, she had to hide it. She had all sorts of powers which she had to hide because she didn't want to be seen as different.
yeah.
And suddenly this man comes and he said, no, there's nothing wrong with you being different. You're beautiful just as you are. And he helped her to develop her powers and, coming to the person that she is. But before we go any further, Danni, I've just got to show our listeners or whoever's watching the front cover. Just make sure I show it
Yeah, I was
properly.
going to go into the cover, but yes, do have a look at
Can
the
you see
cover.
it? Yeah. This front cover, there's a lovely gentleman who lives in Manchester. He's an artist called Ian Bob. Now, Ian did a portrait for me, and I'm going to give my age away now because a few years ago, when I was 60, Ian did an absolutely beautiful portrait for me for my 60th birthday. So when I was looking for a cover for the book, I thought, wow, Ian does sci-fi covers. I wonder if he can do something for me. So I had a little chat with this amazing gentleman, just told him briefly what the story was about, what I would like. And he came up with this amazing cover. So yes, I just have to say, salute Ian, very talented young Black artist in Manchester. He's the one. He's just, I don't know. I could not have done that myself if I was an artist. It's just amazing.
He is amazing. Ian Bob, we're going to tag him into the interview as well. So if anyone's looking for an artist, a talented artist, he's the one.
Sorry.
I mean, I remember when I said to Deanne, did you give him a brief on exactly what you wanted? And she just said, no, I just gave him a bit of an idea. And so this was a concept that he got, which shows how clearly and how well you know your characters, that he was able to translate that into this beautiful artwork here on the back, on the front of the book. So, and he got it right first time, didn't he? There wasn't lots and lots of different sketches.
We had to tweak a few little bits and pieces. But, when he came back with I couldn't believe, I'm thinking, wow, did I explain it to him that well? For him to just come up, that is exactly what I want. And as I said, we had to tweak a few little things. I said, can you just change that slightly for me? I want Camille to look a little bit older, but that is just, as I say, it's just awesome.
He got it. We're going to be putting Ian's details in the comments as well. So Layla says she loves difference. Raina says harmony is important. Lillian, yes, definitely. Let's speak soon. Lovely to meet you. Ali says, I know what you mean, Dion. I think she's about the partner system then.
Wonderful, ladies. Thank you.
So do you have, I wanted to speak a bit about Lexi. So she was a very different character, and it was really nice to see, a strong Black female protagonist, especially in a sci-fi novel, something that we don't see very often. So can you tell us a little bit about Lexi and her personality? How did you start crafting her qualities?
Well, Lexis was a bit of a mystery. She was fostered because her parents landed on the planet accidentally. I don't want to go into too much. I don't want to give too much away.
Too much. Yeah.
She started off in Scotland, lived with a family in Scotland. She was adopted by this couple who were brought up in an orphanage and couldn't have any children of their own initially. So they adopted Lexis and then had a daughter who Lexis then brought up later as her own daughter. But when they found out that this little girl had all these amazing powers, she could transport herself from downstairs to upstairs, she would heal, she'd cut her finger and it would heal in a couple of hours. And they were terrified that, oh my gosh, if people find out, what are they going to do? They're going to take her away from us. These scientists will realize she's something different and take her. So they made her promise, her mother made her promise, do not ever tell anybody. If you tell anybody, something horrible is going to happen. So most of her life, she was terrified. And when she eventually got married, she told her husband about what happened. And within a couple of days, her parents died in an accident. So she thought, oh, mother was right. That was because I told them what happened. That's why my parents were killed. So she just shut down immediately then. And it's like, I'm never, ever going to tell anybody. I don't have any powers. I'm being stupid. So that's how she lived initially. Again, I said, until Camille arrived. And just Camille said, no, actually, I have similar powers to yours. And that's perfectly normal where I come from. So he helped her to blossom into the person that she really is. And they looked into her background and found out where she came from originally. And she decided when his people came that she was going back to his planets and to find out who she really was. And even then, it was a mystery because the person Camille thought she wasn't that person at all. She was somebody far greater than that.
And you've got to get the book to get the rest. Because when I got to that bit, I was like, what? I'm telling you.
My brain just got carried away. My brain just ran away with me.
I've just got used to it. I don't want to ruin it, but it's honestly, I'm not a massive sci-fi reader. I'm starting to really love sci-fi. Our first sci-fi author was our 13-year-old who wrote an 84,000 word sci-fi novel. It'd be great to connect you both, actually. She loves sci-fi. Actually, you'll absolutely love this book. But reading this book really got me. It brought back that sense of wonder and curiosity again, and that creativity again, and really helped me even with my own writing, because I got back to starting writing my old book again.
Nice. That's lovely.
Magical lands, all of this stuff I was into as a young person. It's like, for you, how important do you think it is for young people to read, and what impact does reading, fiction stories, magical things about magical lands and things that are outside of the normal paradigm, what effect do you think that has on readers?
Well, I think it's extremely important for young people in particular, for all of us to write our stories and to share, for the elders to share with the younger people, and for the younger ones to read, because it gets their imagination going and helps them to think outside the box, and also to write from their perspective. And I do reading and writing workshops with groups of elders in the community, and I also go into schools and do writing workshops. And I just tell the young people, I share with them. Obviously, I talk about myself, because a lot of us, we're come from different cultures. Whatever color your skin is, you might be half Irish, half French, whatever, and I just say it's so important to be comfortable with the person you are and to love who you are and to be able to write from your perspective and pass that on to your children. So this is what I encourage the young people to do. It doesn't matter what Jane or John is writing. You write it from your perspective, and it's really important that we pass on those stories, because the way history is recorded, we all know, the truth isn't always recorded. It's recorded according to the victor. Yes. So I think it's very, very important for our mental health. Mental health, I think it's very important to write.
Well, I can't wait for you to get back to sort of doing workshops with young people and the elders as well, because the elders have amazing stories, absolutely amazing
Danni,
stories.
You would not believe it. Oh my gosh. The last group of elders I worked with, a lot of them came here after the war. There were nurses, and most of them, they were professionals, they were teachers, and there were other professions. And they said when they came here, they couldn't get the jobs that they wanted. So they ended up driving buses. They ended up, nurses, train drivers, whatever. And when they shared some of the stories of the racism they suffered, it just made you want to cry. And how they helped to actually rebuild this country, because this isn't something that a lot of people don't know. We're walking down the street, and I lived in an area just outside Manchester where, we'd be walking along and people would wind the window down and shout the N-word, go back to the jungle and start making monkey noises. And I think our young people need to know your grandmother, your grandfather fought for this country. They came and rebuilt the country after the war. You have every right to be here and take advantage of everything that is in this country. You know, yes, they might have come from the Caribbean or they might have come from Africa, but this is your country. You have every right to be here. And the young people need to know that. And this is what the story emphasizes, as I said, difference. That difference isn't something negative that we should be afraid of and we should pretend that we're something else. You know, we should respect difference. Like some people will say, oh, well, I don't see difference. Everybody's the same to me.
Oh, don't get me started. We're not the same. And that's the beauty of it, isn't it? Oh, God, don't.
You know, and you say, no, we're not. We're all different. But the important thing is that you respect that difference.
That's
anyway,
right.
I could go on all day, Danny. So
I know you need to get out there speaking. It's interesting you were talking about, you know, coming over and being nurses. We actually published a book last year, October, called NAG, Nurses Association of Jamaica, which is written by the Nurses Association of Jamaica, the founders, and they've got stories of, you know, when they came over from the Caribbean and their experiences during the Windrush and going into nursing and the racism they faced as well. And I'm completely in agreement with you. A lot of our young people, a disparity between what our grandparents went through or parents went through and what our younger people know is they don't have that. There's a gap missing there. They don't have that knowledge of what they've gone through. So that's amazing. Oh, Deanne. Bear with me.
Sorry about that.
My plug has come out.
I'm sorry about that.
That's
this
fine.
phone always does its own thing. I do apologize. Can you see me?
I can see you perfectly. So,
hi, Danny. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I can. Do you have a favorite extract that you'd like to read from your book to share with the lovely readers?
I actually love the one that you chose. You know, if you'd asked me that off the cuff, I would have said, oh, I don't know. I could read the whole book. I just love it all. But you chose a chapter which I absolutely love. And I thought, yes, I could probably share that with you. But I could read all day. So how long have I got?
You have as long as you want. Listen, if you're watching right now, I have, and I'm going to say it right now. We are going to be, over the next couple of days, every day on the Conscious Streams Facebook page, I'm posting extracts from Deanne's book to give you a flavour. But I have suggested that Dion does, you're going to hate me for this now, does a video, it's a couple of videos on her page, reading some extracts. Let us know in the comments, capital letters, yes, if you'd really like to see this. I think encouragement.
No, I'm going to, but I've just got to pluck up the courage because do you know something, Danny? People don't realize I am naturally a shy person. When I say that to people, they go, oh, for heaven's sake, Deanne. But people who knew me at school or even maybe 20 years ago, in fact, one of my friends, he came to an event that I was taking part in and he brought his mum. And afterwards he came to me and he said, Deanne, I can't believe, was that you? Yeah, you never used to say boo to a goose. I can't believe that was you on the platform making everybody laugh. So, you know, over the years, I have had to take a deep breath and put my shyness to one side. So when you said that, I was thinking, oh my God, I can't do that. But yes, I can. Remember Barack said, yes, we can. So I'm going to.
Yes, exactly. So, yes, we can.
I am going to.
Let's see the yeses in the comments, please. I mean, you're doing amazingly well in this interview. So, hey, this is a warm-up. I'm going to go for a little bit and Deanne is going to read some extracts.
Okay. Right. Whoever's watching, and ladies and gentlemen, this is a chapter from the first book of the novel, and the novel is in 3 books, and it's called The Recall of the Jan Farai. And you have to buy the book to find out who the Jan Farai are and why they were recalled. Okay, right. So Paulina was awakened by silence. She sat up in bed with a feeling of dread, knowing that something was terribly wrong. Quickly she washed and dressed, then ran down the long corridor of the female living quarters at the back of the temple, through the flower gardens, towards the secluded quarters where the Jan Farai lived. She abruptly came to a halt as Romanin suddenly materialized in front of her, bathed in a pale blue pool of light. She had come from her chambers, which she shared with her husband in the tower, and was, like Paulina, in a similar haste. Paulina bowed hastily, and without a word they hurried towards the house in front of them. But before they reached it, they heard the shouts and wailing of the helpers who served the Janfarai. The 5 white-haired men and 2 women, similarly dressed in long white robes, would normally have risen by dawn, breakfasted simply on porridge and fresh fruit by sunrise, and be in the temple sanctuary. Their harmonious chanting voices should have filled the air. The reassuring chants should have been echoing through the city, accompanied by the tolling bells of the temple, calling the faithful to worship. But there was silence. The doors to the house where the Janfarai lived were thrown open as Paulina and Romanin approached. Several other Kwanu arrived from different directions at the same time. Faces etched in shock and horror. The helpers bowed low and ushered them into the house. Revered mother, they've gone, they've gone, the housekeeper cried. But Romanin knew before the words were spoken. How? Was all she asked. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. And if you want to know what has happened, then you will have to buy the book. Okay? So I'm just going to wait for Danni to come back. I think hopefully she's listening and won't be too long. But as I was saying, the book covers sort of lots of different aspects, you know, the warriors, the space travel, just living normal lives. It just covers lots of different things, and I try to touch on different aspects of life. Now, are you there, Danni? No, she's given me a longer bit than I expected. I'm just trying to think, should I read another little bit? Maybe I'll read the beginning. The generals. And there came a time upon Terra, a dark time, when the 3 races fought among themselves, and Terra was drenched in blood. The Mandarin Chronicles. With brow furrowed in concentration, Ivan Kubladet, Emperor Tutepsinen's most trusted general, carefully studied the charts that littered the table in front of him. He was a large man, at least 7 feet tall, with shoulders as broad as a bear and hands that could break a man's neck as easily as a twig. His face was like well-worn dark brown leather with cold, dark eyes. An angry scar that ran down the left side of his face from brow to chin did nothing for his appearance. This is the great landmass covering 1/3 of our planet's surface. See, here. It is surrounded by the never-ending ocean, which occupies the other 2/3, he said, pointing with a thick, gnarled finger to the blue shaded areas on one of the charts held open by the point of his gold-handled dagger. The information had been amassed over many years of campaigning at a cost of thousands of lives, but that small detail was of little significance to the general. He needed to know the quickest way for his army to reach Addis Eloah, the legendary holy city. Having hours before witnessed one of his emperor's tantrums brought on by excessive drinking, Ivan Kubladet did not want to be on the receiving end of Tutepsinen's wrath again. The emperor, though slightly built in comparison to his general, when angered, could be fierce and as mean as a rabid hunting dog. Okay, Danni? They said, I'm not quite sure what's happened to Danni. I just thought I was going to be given a little time to share some of the story, and I thought she'd have come back by now, but she's obviously giving me more time. So, okay, I shall continue reading. Okay. Kubla-Det was still in a bad mood and scowled as he tossed his long, matted dreadlocks, peppered with grey, over his shoulder. He peered at the drawings on the table, understanding clearly now why no one appeared to know exactly how to get to the legendary city. According to the charts, Addis Ababa was situated at the top of the imposing Feral Mountains, which were part of the mighty range generally known as the Spine of the World. The Spine of the World ran the entire length of the Tehran landmass. Okay. I apologize, listeners, if you're still watching. This is
Hello.
Hi, Danni. Have we gone off?
Can you believe this? So you're still on, but my computer's just switched itself off and it won't turn back on and I can't get back in. So if you just tell them that I'm not able to get back in, but just tell them what's next for you and how people can connect with you.
All right.
You're going to have to end the show for me if that's all right.
All right then. Okay.
All right. To do so well. Thank you.
All
Bye.
Right. Okay, I do apologize for that. I hope you can see me. Right, I've just had a call from Danni to say, unfortunately, I think she has a problem with her Wi-Fi because her computer has gone off. So I'm going to end it there. And thank you very much for everybody who's watching and taking part. I wasn't expecting to do this. I've suddenly been given another role. So all I want to say is I have had 5 books published so far. This one, the Mandari Chronicles, which we were talking about before. I hope you can see it. I'm not quite sure if you can see it. Let's have a look. There it is, the Mandari Chronicles. That is the one that will be available soon. That's my 5th book. I've had 2 volumes of short humorous stories called Pardon the Money Stories. That's volume 1. And this is volume 2. Okay, that's volume 2, Pardon the Money Stories. I've also had 2 volumes of poetry published. And as I said before, I call my poetry my therapy because it helps me to process what's going on. There it is. That's volume 1 of Contemplation. And that is volume 2. And in all honesty, I've got enough poems to publish maybe another 2 or 3 books of poetry. But I'm just going to end this for Danni and tell you you can purchase my books from my website. I have a website which is all the W's, www.pardnermoneystories.co.uk, and partner in this case is spelled Pardner Money Stories, and there it is. Let me see if I can show it to you. Yeah, can you see it? Pardner Money Stories. So my website is www.pardnermoneystories.co.uk, and you can go and buy my books there. And these are a very reasonable price, only $6.99, and you can get signed copies from the website, from myself. I can sign them to whoever you wanted, to yourself, or if you're giving them to a present, and they make amazing presents for the elders, parents. There are also audio books. There are CDs, audio CDs of the stories. So if you want to buy audio, because a lot of the elders just like to listen to the stories, they're available on the website. And the Mandari Chronicles will be available in the next few days. So thank you very much for listening. I am not very technical, so I hope I can shut this thing down okay. But you enjoy the rest of your evening, and hopefully when this COVID-19 thing is over, I'll be able to meet up face to face with some of you and perhaps do some readings for you. And maybe, you can share your writing, because I know a lot of you who are listening, you're also authors, because there's Carol, I think Danni mentioned, and a few other names who I can't remember, so I do apologize. But thank you very much for listening. Do take care.